On the show this week, we get behind the wheel of the unique Volvo V90 Cross Country. We also come to grips with the ferocious Ducati XDiavel S and accompany the gang of dusters on their first drive out of India.
Station wagons or estate cars, they've never really been all that popular in India, right? Actually, there's a very simple reason for that. SUVs. You see, SUVs offer the same sort of practicality as an estate car in a more desirable body style. They also offer more road presence, the possibility of 7 seats, and even the possibility of some off-roading ability. Lately, however, station wagons have been making a small comeback, and who better to lead the renaissance than the maker of some of the most famous station wagons of all time. Say hello everyone to the Volvo V90 Cross Country. The V90 is the station wagon version of the S90 sedan, and the Cross Country is the rugged version of the V90. Up to the rear doors, the basic shape is more or less identical to the S90, but the V90 makes a departure from the boxy Volvo estates of the past, with a sleek profile that culminates in a sloping rear windscreen and some striking L-shaped LED tail lamps. For the Cross Country, Volvo has toughened up the design with some grey cladding and more rugged looking bumpers, while a set of handsome 20-inch wheels, which are standard by the way, fill out the large wheel arches nicely. The estate body style has traditionally not done well in India, but the V90, you'll agree, is one of the prettiest interpretations of it in a long time. And because it's a cross country, the SUV-like rugged bits should appeal to Indian buyers too. And the news just gets better once you step inside. The cabin is of course based on the S90 sedan, which in turn was based on the path-breaking new XC90. The dashboard has the same minimalistic theme with a 9-inch portrait touchscreen replacing most of the physical buttons. The wood veneer on the dash and doors has been replaced by lovely woven aluminium panels. And as ever, the quality in here is just sublime, and it all makes you feel really special. The front seats are similar to the S90's, heated and superbly supportive with electric adjust for the bolsters, lumbar support and extendable squabs. But the V90 takes it a step further with a cooling function and a massage feature. But the big draw of the wagon body style is the added practicality of a massive boot. What you get is 560 litres of wide and flat storage space. But should the need arise, the seats can be dropped electrically to increase that number to 1,526 litres. And yes, tucked conveniently under the loading area is a space-saver spare tyre. And while we're on the subject of space, let's just see how much of it there is in the back seat. The back seat of the V90 Cross Country will be very familiar if you've ever been in the back seat of an S90, and that is to say, its one bugbear does remain, and that's a slight lack of thigh support. However, all the strengths remain too. Look at the amount of knee room I have here, and the headroom is even greater thanks to the roof that stretches so much further behind. As with the front as well, it is a very, very nice place to be with a superb cabin ambience. However, while comfort is top class, a fifth passenger in the middle will have to contend with a wide central tunnel, eating into their legroom. Now, the other thing the V90 Cross Country has in common with the S90 is having steel springs at the front and air suspension at the rear, and of course, that affects the way it rides. Thanks to this combination of suspension, the ride overall is really very, very comfortable, with only really sharp bumps catching it out. So this is one of Volvo's cross-country models, and as you've seen, it certainly looks the part. But Volvo says this one packs in the hardware to do not serious off-roading, but some pretty convincing soft-roading. It's got four-wheel drive and the ground clearance has been raised by 60 mm to a whopping 210 millimeters. So yes, it can certainly handle a rough country road. Volvo, however, says it can do a lot more than just that. Put it in off-road mode, which works up to 40 kph, and it will distribute power where it's needed via AWD, and it will activate hill descent control. The ground clearance should be more than enough for most owners, and frankly, the only thing that let it down slightly was the set of sporty, road-focused Pirelli tires. Now, the cross-country variants have actually done really well for Volvo here in India. In fact, the S60 Cross Country now outsells the standard S60 sedan by a big margin. What you get in essence is something halfway between a regular sedan or hatchback and a full-on SUV. You get a bit more rugged looks and also a little bit more practicality. But let's face it, these cars will only get a taste of the rough stuff once in a blue moon, right? So it's out on the tarmac where most V90 cross countries will really spend most of their time. So let's tell you what it's like out here. Now, the cross-country cars are meant to bridge the gap between the sedans and the SUVs, and from the driver's seat, that's exactly what this car feels like. You don't get quite the same commanding drive position as you do in an XC90, but you aren't quite as low to the ground as in an S90. That said, it shares a lot of its driving characteristics with both those cars. Like those cars, this isn't the most thrilling to drive. Yes, the steering is accurate, well-weighted and light enough when you need it to be, but it's not bristling with feel and feels a little bit inert going around corners. That said, because like the S90, this car has air suspension only at the rear and not at the front end feels a lot more uncorrupted than it does in the XC90, which has air suspension at all four corners. And on the flip side, because like the XC90, this car has all-wheel drive, you get a lot of confidence and grip in the corners. And the best part is that it does all this with very little body roll or body movement. So yes, while it might not be the last word in handling like a BMW is, it does at least have a lot of grip, and you can have a reasonable amount of fun going up a mountain in it. So like the other 90 series Volvos, this one too uses a 2-litre 4-cylinder diesel engine. But unlike the S90, which has the D4 engine with 190 horsepower, this one has the D5 engine from the XC90 with 235 horsepower and 480 Newton meters of torque. So this motor is as you remember it in the other 90 series cars. It's very smooth, it's got a nice wide power band, and there is no hiccup in the power delivery as such. It's also quite refined. Yes, there is a bit of diesel grumble, but it's not at all harsh, and you only really hear it loudly after about 4000 RPM. Now, one thing you can never call this engine is sporty. Yes, it's got the power, it's got the speed, but it masks it just so well. As a result, it never really makes you want to go for it and put your foot down really hard on a winding road. It's a similar story with the 8-speed automatic gearbox, which is just a bit too slow to react to be a truly thrilling experience out on a fast road. Now, unlike the regular S90 and XC90, this car comes with paddle shifters, and that is truly a welcome change because it does at least let you take control of the gearbox when you want to drive a bit quickly. Now, Volvo's new policy with its cars is to launch them first in a flagship top-spec variant and then maybe introduce lower trims later on. So, this V90 cross-country inscription is fully loaded. It's got 4-zone auto climate control, a massive panoramic sunroof, a heads-up display, digital dials, a heated steering wheel, real leather upholstery, and of course the magnificent sounding Bowers & Wilkins surround audio system. In fact, there's so much equipment on this car, I'm going to have to list it out for you. Volvo has often played follow-up in the Indian market since it opened shop here, but the V90 Cross Country leads the way and opens up a new category altogether. It really is a halfway point between the S90 and XC90 as a product, with rugged looks and abilities, but also car-like driving dynamics and loads of luxury. It's expected to wedge between those two siblings on price too, at an estimated 60 to 65 lakh rupees ex-showroom. Volvo knows it won't sell as well as its more conventional stablemates, but is still confident of moving at least 200 cars before the end of 2017. And take it from us, if you're in the market for either a luxury sedan or SUV, the V90 Cross Country truly gives you the best of both worlds.
Typically, you'd associate Ducati with its lustrous sporting heritage and finely crafted machines. In fact, you wouldn't really expect them to create something of a more leisurely nature. Ducati did take a swing at the cruiser genre with the Diavel, but what it ended up making was more of a brawling muscle bike that was closer to street naked.
Well, Ducati have been back at the drawing board again, and now we have this, the XDiavel. And what we have here is the S version, which is a slightly sportier version of the cruiser. But sporty and cruiser in the same sentence? Is this going to be the same story as the Diavel? Well, it certainly has the silhouette of a cruiser, but is it really on? I think we better have a closer look and figure out what makes the XDiavel tick.
The XDiavel S is simply stunning to look at. Its sinister styling and unique appearance definitely grab your attention, and almost every component on the new XDiavel is different from the Diavel. It is in fact a more stylized cruiser kind of motorcycle. It appears slimmer and lighter than the chunkier Diavel, which gives it a sort of air of elegance. The headlamp unit is far sleeker, with the S model getting a menacing DRL that surrounds the top half. There's a new full-color TFT screen between the tank and the handlebar that appears to be a scaled-down version of the largest pedo console from the Panigale 1299 and Multistradas. The main screen spans just 3.5 inches, but is high-resolution display and fairly easy to read. The telltale lights get their own tiny display above the handlebar. The switchgear is red backlit, with the switches on the left forming an X when illuminated. The Diavel side-mounted radiators have been moved to the front, leaving the grey finished trellis frame on display. It gets a nice long 18-litre tank that tapers towards the rider's seat before widening towards the tail. The twin/brake light theme continues, but the tail end is now narrower, sleeker and more tapered than before.
Now if you look at the XDiavel, it's a big long machine, but once you get into the saddle, it feels a lot more compact than it actually looks. And it's got a very natural seating posture. In fact, it feels more natural than a lot of traditional cruisers. You're not really stretching for the handlebars. In fact, it's quite a neutral seating posture. And the foot pegs aren't very far apart either. Of course, now they're a little more forward set than the older Diavel. And the seat is nice and well padded, which overall makes the entire seating position on this bike a very comfortable one.
The XDiavel is the second motorcycle from Ducati stable to use their clever DVT variable valve timing system after the Multistrada 1200. It gets the Tester DVT 1262 L-twin motor. Ducati has stroked out the motor from 1198cc to 1262cc in the XDiavel. Power remains the same 152 horsepower as the Diavel, but torque has increased by 3 Nm to 126 Nm. The XDiavel is the first motorcycle from Ducati to get a belt drive. Normal Kevlar infused belt drives from the average big cruisers just aren't strong enough to handle the XDiavel's ferocity. So Ducati developed a special carbon fiber reinforced unit. Thanks to the sports bike-like firm suspension, the XDiavel certainly reaps benefits in the handling department. With 40 degrees of cornering clearance, the XDiavel can sustain considerable lean angles and serious corner speeds. Then there are the brakes. The XDiavel S gets the range-topping M50s, the very same brakes on the 1299S Panigale. The M50s offer stunning performance with it stopping from 80 km per hour in just 3.1 seconds or 30.2 meters during our testing in semi-damp conditions. Both the XDiavel models get the added security of Bosch cornering ABS. With its ballistic power, excellent chassis and incredible brakes, the XDiavel won't have a very hard time keeping up with most sports bikes on all but the tightest of roads. The new XDiavel has the same amount of punch but now offers DPL, or Ducati Power Launch, a 3-stage launch control system that makes launching the bike a little less scary. This system allows the rider to keep the throttle wide open, smoothly release the clutch, and allow the electronics to handle the rest. Needless to say, the performance is thrilling, bordering on frightening even. Tested in semi-damp conditions, we managed to see a 3.4 second time to the 100 km per hour mark, the front wheel trying to head skyward the whole while, only to be reined in by the 8-level adjustable traction control. The XDiavel gets 3 riding modes: Urban, Touring and Sport. In Urban mode, power is restricted to 100 horsepower and the bike feels quite mild-mannered. Touring mode offers a mild throttle response but gives the rider access to the full 152 horsepower. Sport mode releases the full unfettered power of this bike and makes it highly responsive to rider inputs, while electronic nannies are brought to a less intrusive level.
For the price of 19,48,000 rupees ex-showroom Delhi, you're getting a technologically advanced cruiser that's still a lot cheaper than a lot of other cruisers. So if you're looking for a high-end cruiser that's capable of a bit more than just cruising, you should definitely take the XDiavel for a spin and see what it has to offer.
There's a 2-car in front of me, 730.
We are in Agra for the flag off of Renault's first international drive, which goes to Bhutan. There are 19 cars from all over the country which we'll be following all the way to Bhutan over the next 10 days. Covering 2200 kilometers, it seems a very, very exciting journey. Join us in the trip. Started from Agra at 8 in the morning, and let me tell you this, the run till here has been very simple because it's an expressway right from the start when you leave Agra till you get to Lucknow.
I am from Delhi,
Coimbatore,
Bangalore,
गुड़गांव,
Karnataka, Hyderabad, Pune, Maharashtra.
और मैं लखनऊ से हूँ.
I've been with the Gang of Dusters team for quite a good time. This is actually my 9th expedition with the GOD team.
It just helps us get an understanding that how you can push the limit of the car, what is the power of the car, and I would say the endurance as well of the car.
Agra Expressway, driving there on the Duster. Then I realized the full potential of my car, you know.
Hello. Hello. It's day 4 and we are on our way to Siliguri in West Bengal. It's one of the longest distances that we'll be covering on this drive, 530 kilometers to be precise. When we left in the morning from Patna, it was really chaotic, especially because of the traffic. But as we passed a town called Muzaffarpur, things eased out and the roads opened up to a nice highway, and it's only 160 kilometers here on. Roads are good. Hopefully we'll reach there in time.
Gang of Dusters is a super engagement initiative we started about 2.5 years back. Now we have 100,000 registered members with Gang of Dusters, and it is the real experience for man and machine.
Planning something on our own would take ages. So at least here we have somebody who has taken care of the roads, who's taken care of the stay, who's taken care of everything.
So we're back on the road again, down from the Dochula Pass. We're on the way to the beautiful Punakha Dzong, one of the most beautiful dzongs in the whole of Bhutan. It's at a confluence of two rivers, extremely beautiful spot, and this road is beautifully built, an absolute joy to drive down.
We get to experience all kinds of terrains, from plains to the uphills, the down trails. I mean, there are sometimes where there is no roads at all.
The fear is gone away. So you can see, okay, next car is doing it, so you can do it.
Once you book your Gang of Dusters thing, you are done. You don't have to worry about any single thing.
As I said, this is my first Gang of Dusters trip itself, and that too the iconic trip. So that was in Hindi, as you call it, Sone Pe Suhaga.
So we're finally down from the 3,000 meter pass at the level of the riverbed, and we're going to get into these rafts and sail right past the absolutely gorgeous Punakha Dzong. I can't wait to do it. But I'm out of here tomorrow. I'm out of Bhutan. Rahul, you've got a couple of days here still, a lot of fun driving.
True. Tomorrow we head to Tiger's Nest. That is really exciting. There's going to be a steep climb up the nest, so really looking forward to that.
I wish I had done this earlier.
I'm really looking forward for the Tiger Nest.
Tiger's Nest.
Going to Tiger Nest finally.
This is where our journey with the Gang of Dusters comes to an end, and what a fantastic journey it's been all the way from Agra to Paro in Bhutan. It's been an even more adventurous day as we've been trekking for the past 2.5 hours to make our way here 10,000 feet above sea level to a place none other than the Tiger's Nest.